So she is not going to be here. And hopefully, though, Kelsey will pop in just a second. I don't know. It's drama today. That's what it is. Drama. But I feel like that's every day. That's something we always say is it's drama. Well, hopefully, all of you out there had a good day and a good new year. I hope you all got to relax, party, whatever, whichever floats your boat. Oh, I should probably start with, I keep forgetting to start with, this program is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. We talk about true crime. We swear. And today we are following up on Ben Smart and, why did that seem wrong? Ben Smart and Olivia Hope. We talked about them last week, how they went missing in New Zealand on New Year's, technically New Year's morning of '98. So they were last seen at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when they were dropped off with a mystery man, because they got on their, they went to get on their chartered, okay, did it show it the right way though? This is weird. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, hey Eve. Okay, it's showing that Kelsey joined, but I think it had her join. I think I ended up having her join as a watcher and not as a participant. Yeah, I'm not sure what it's doing. It's thinking. Okay, well, hopefully that ends up working and we figure that out. And we talked about last week, this case is kind of sketchy because I'm not going to say one way or another whether or not Scott Watson that is going to drive me nuts. I'm going to drop the camera a little bit, was innocent or guilty. I am going to say that the investigation was boggled. It's just, it was not right. I think where we were ending was with the ship or a boat, whatever. And I went ahead and I posted on our social media outlets about the sketch of the catch that Guy Wallace and several other people that were in that inlet at the time reported seeing, and the one that he said he had dropped Ben Smart and Olivia Hope on versus Scott Wallace's sloop. Very, very different ships. I don't know. For some reason, it's not working for Kelsey to join right now. And my messenger on my computer has also decided it doesn't want to work. So, what? Why are you making noises at me? Whatever. Oh, and I remember last week I said there were like 5 books about this case. There are more. There are more. I found at least 8 of them. I'm going to try to get those all posted in the show notes, the ones that I can find. So, okay. So apparently Instagram is just like, no, that's not what I meant to do. Instagram is just like refusing to acknowledge the fact that I sent Kelsey an invite to join the stream. It's being weird. So tonight we're going to start with Guy Wallace. This is the bartender / water taxi driver, and he became really the crutch of the prosecution's case against Scott Watson. After Ben and Olivia disappeared, a lot of pressure came down on Guy Wallace because he was one of the last people who saw them, and he was the only one from that night that remembered what the suspect on the taxi looked like. Wallace started being accused of lying about the events of that night and or participating in a cover-up. It it's kind of a toss-up as to whether the media or the police were um, harassing him more. Maybe it'll work better, Kelsey, if you send a request to join the live. I don't know. He says, quote, oh, maybe. Pressure, pressure, pressure. They put so much pressure on me, I couldn't even drive a car after coming out from one of the interviews. It's disgusting what they do to you. I know if Scott wasn't in there, I would be in there because they just had to get someone. It's as simple as that. Please show Wallace Scott's, whoa, I typed that weird, excuse me. Please show Wallace Scott Watson's photo on 3 separate occasions. I think we kind of talked about this last time. And on each one of those, Wallace failed to identify him as the mystery man. On the 4th attempt, police used a picture of Watson that had been captured mid-blink. Oh, I think this is it. Accept. Yes, go live. So we're just talking about how the prosecution, well, how the police were pressuring Scott Watson to, or not Scott Watson, Guy Wallace, to identify Scott Watson. And I'll go back to where I was, that police showed Wallace the photo. Well, they put his photo in the lineup, the photo lineup, 3 different times. Watson or Wallace did not identify any of those times. But then the police took a picture of Watson where it was captured mid-blink and it made him look like he had hooded eyes. And I put that one in the social media packet for last week, I believe, is where it ended up. It was either at the beginning of this week or last week that I posted it. It's just a little packet that has the photos, which that became known as the infamous blink photo. In that photo, Wallace and his bar manager, Wallace McNally, who Ross had been serving this unruly guy at the bar that Watson said, or Wallace said, was also the same guy who was in the taxi. They picked them from the lineup. There's a lot of controversy. People talked over whether or not that was actually a team identification because of all the pressure and harassment they were under from the police. Now, on this topic, Wallace would later say, yeah, I picked him out. It was only the pink photo. And how many photos did they take or film to go through to get that shot? Because I mentioned the guy had squinty eyes. I know he wasn't the mystery man. He was totally different. The bleep photo was criticized as highly undesirable, particularly given the importance of suspect identification in this case, which is a quote from the independent, a report that was released in 2010 from the Independent Police Conduct Authority. They had a lot to say about the whole case because it was a question. That's all there is to it. And once again, for the new people joining, I'm not saying one way or another whether Scott Wallace is or isn't guilty. I'm criticizing the way that the case was handled.
Yeah, it sounds like they were just, it sounds like they just wanted to get the job done and weren't really interested in justice.
Yeah. They, hold on, Great Unknown, a true crime podcast, in their episode on Olivia the Smart, she had said that, and I should have looked up that's my bad. She said she never, it's so weird because living in the US, we're used to innocent until proven guilty. And this case was handled more like he had to be proven
Jelly. Oh, I am so sorry.
That was my voice because I was looking at stuff.
That's what I do. So in the trial in 1999, Wallace did end up testifying, but he testified that Scott Watson was the person that they'd seen in the barn on the tax, which goes back to the lunchpin witness. I just realized that my notes say lunchpin witness. God damn, not correct. But he later retracted his statement, saying that police had pressured him into testimony. Over the next 20 years, Wallace would give multiple statements and signed affidavits saying that they thought the wrong man and Scott Watson was not the man he had seen that night. He continued to do this until his death and suicide in March of this year. After Guy Wallace's death, Chris Watson, who's Scott Watson's father, has really been pushing for the appeal process and my brain went to acquittal, and somehow that seems wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is actually what it is for his son. So he said of Wallace and what happened during the case, he seems to want to please everyone, whoever he was speaking to. Whenever someone in his suit got to him, he would sort of go with them. On Wallace, I'm going to end with this quote from him, from Wallace. It follows me around all the time. I think my life would have gone a lot different if I hadn't been involved in this at all. Scott Watson's trial began on June 10, 1992, concluded on September 11, 1990. So he was arrested in June of 8, and the trial started in June of 1990. People joined. Olivia Hope's father called the prosecution's case pure theater, which isn't to say that he necessarily felt that Watson was innocent, just that the trial was a shit show, like I said several times. Gerald Olivia Hope's father, did meet and speak with Scott Watson in 2016. They spoke about the case for 6 hours. This was in relation to Gerald having told Watson many years back, convince me that you are innocent and I'll back you. During the talks, though Watson was basic about answering the questions, Gerald had about some circumstantial elements in the case, and he failed. Watson was evasive and answer those questions, which left Gerald coming back and saying, I can't get behind him and say that he's innocent. For the trial, I basically put everything, like straight quotes from Wikipedia for a lot of this, just to make sure that I'm hitting all of the points. And actually, I think that they even missed some, because there was stuff about how they theorized the bodies were being disposed of. Again, their bodies then started to be Hope's bodies. They were just presumed having been murdered.
Yeah, they I can't remember the location of it now, but they think that they may or may not have found it, but they won't approve to go and retrieve the body shapes out of the ocean. And the family, it's going to cost the family like something over $15,000 to do it themselves.
If money were no object.
Right. Money makes the world turn, unfortunately.
Yeah. I forgot to include it because there were some news outlets that were, mostly like junk news outlets about, was Olivia Hope spotted all these years after her death or presumed death?
Yeah, I went down the gossip forum of Reddit, and one of the theories over there was that they inadvertently came across one of those drug rings, and they got caught up in that. And supposedly some druggie said that they have a picture of her days after, she was murdered, but can't really put much stock into those rumors.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of What there is now is conjecture.
Mhm.
And, part of that is because the police, Rob Pope was the one in charge of the investigations, and so I can kind of throw this out. They just get so much of the evidence. Then they completely, like, everything would catch all the people who said, we saw this. And they decided, no, that didn't exist. We can't confirm it, even though there are a bajillion people like, seriously, with it. And they actually told people, more people calling in after they, I think it was during the investigation on top of them. I don't think they had arrested him yet, but they were calling in to report this catch and seeing it leave, because there were people that saw it leave, between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, and the police were telling them, "Oh, we've got the guy. You don't have to worry about that anymore."
And they apparently found Olivia's hairs on a blanket after it had already went through, and the examiner was analyzing hairs from a hairbrush. Then she went to the blanket, and there was a hole in the evidence bag, and
Yeah, touch on that. It was, I'll give you this. So, where is she? Is the tiger print. Is what they, here we go. Susan Bittner was the friend just to talk to. And they found the blonde hairs on the blanket. Apparently there was some blood, but it's kind of embarrassed what if they even tested the blood, what's going on with that. The defense counsel questioned the chain of custody regarding the hair, suggesting that may have cross-contaminated the hair samples, which we just talked about. And also, it wasn't necessarily like, yes, this is Olivia's hair. It was something like 10,000 to 1 or whatever. More likely that it was her hair than any other using report. Which DNA evidence is kind of like that. That's why they don't really like to convict, at least in the States, they don't really like to convict on DNA evidence.
DNA evidence is kind of unreliable, especially with like the amount of hair like we lose in a day.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where the law, science, and police investigations don't work the way people are told they work. A lot of things that people think of as definitive evidence in criminal cases are actually, they're part of a packet that's delivered. It's a build upon. And it's a lot of it is, can we cast reasonable doubt that this is the person? Can we make the person think that we have the evidence that has them dead to rights and we can confess? Or can we convince the jury with the evidence we have that this person is guilty? And it's not 100%.
Yeah.
The other thing was they found brown hairs on the boat, which Ben had brown hair. So at first, the police issued an apology and said that they didn't have the budget to test those hairs, but in around 2005-2006, excuse me, Rob Pope retracted that statement and said the hair was tested, but ruled out as being bad. So I have my. So the short of it is that the DNA evidence was a cluster.
I read, in my research that, New Zealand does have a history of kind of botching up evidence. So this isn't the first time that they've messed the evidence up.
It makes sense. And we see it, unfortunately, worldwide, that especially these high-profile, high-media profile cases, they just want to get the case pushed.
And that's really sad. I mean, these people just all over the world, you know, in high profile cases everybody deserves justice. So it doesn't matter if it's high profile. And that's what made me mad when I was going over the notes and doing the research was, do these people not care about justice? So.
Yeah. And it said over and over and over again, that's why there are so many books and there's a documentary as well. At least one documentary or TV movie, something like that. I will make sure to include that in the notes that has been made about this. And there are, like you said, Reddit conspiracy theory rabbit holes because
It's always fun to go down those.
oh yeah, always fun, so much fun. Because it is just such a thing that this was screwed up, and it's not just that this was screwed up. When something like this gets so horribly, obviously messed up, it makes us question our own safety.
All you have to do is watch the news and you'll be questioning that on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
One place to be.
true crime undeniable things.
We're in danger.
They always have something about kids, I swear. Every time I try to like just sit down and watch a news program or something and just read a paper, well, like an online paper magazine, whatever, there's something terrible that happened to kids. Like, oh my gosh, no. I don't want
And it comes from the money.
Yeah. So I'll admit, it's very frustrating. It's not that I don't read from credible sources and whatever. I'm very picky about how I do it. Sometimes, like, my husband reads a lot of current events. So he'll tell me, hey, did you hear about this? And then I can look that up without having to, like, look through the news websites.
Yeah.
So,
I just quit the news. I'm like, I quit. Give me my fantasy novels.
yeah. Dragons and Evil Witches way better than
Huh?
I said Dragons and Evil Witches way better than reality.
Yeah.
It's the We Are the Monsters. Which I swear there's like an actual place that the original quote comes from, whatever. I don't know. It's been said to me. I'm sure somebody out there knows it. Where it originally comes from. But yeah. Okay, so this is quoting back from Wikipedia. Much of the Crown's evidence, which once again this is in New Zealand, so it's like the state versus the Crown versus. Much of the Crown's evidence was circumstantial and relied on witness accounts of the night's events. There were over 500 witnesses. By the way. Or maybe it was 500 of those. Crap ton of witnesses. The Counts of the Watson went alone into the celebrations at Canal Lodge with the intention to pursue women. That Watson's boat was moored in the same location that the pair boarded the mystery man's boat. That witness descriptions of Watson's behavior and appearance that night made him a match for the mystery man, and that he expressed to associates a desire or willingness to kill people in a year prior.
He must have the fastest growing facial hair of anyone on earth.
Right? Because earlier that night, picture of him on the
Clean shaven baby face.
Exactly. And they said, oh yeah, he had like the wavy hair. He did not have that. And Watson was not, I would have called him a good person by any means.
You know, he's a shapeshifter. He's secretly a shapeshifter. He's totally guilty and he's a shapeshifter.
There we go. Let's do a little let it thread on that. About one secret shapeshifter. Yeah, he was a good person by any means, but just because you're not a good person and you may do other crimes, you still have a right to be fairly
You
judged
know,
or prosecuted based on that particular crime.
I do think that he was trying to change his ways because in 5 years he only had one conviction.
Yeah.
So I
And he
think
was
he,
37.
yeah. So I think, you know, he might have been trying to change his ways and become a better person. But once he developed that history of being this type of person, it's really, really hard to shake that. And it made him an easy target to pin this on.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the big grievances that the police are going. He was in the area. Several people reported, yes, him specifically, not the mystery death, but him specifically being unruly and getting drunk and just being a pain in the ass that night. So it made it such an easy target.
Yeah. Alcohol never improves a situation.
It does not. And not to criticize anybody who wants to be drinking, that's speaking from personal experience. It'll suck up your night real fast.
Yeah. That way, you know, if I go out, I'm only having 1 or 2 beers and that's it.
I'm 10 years sober.
Good for you.
So yeah, when you say alcohol will fuck up your night,
Yeah, I get stupid if I drink too much. I talk way too much, say way too much. You know, like I shouldn't have said that.
so much. I talk so much, and it happens when I'm on pain medication too. I get super chatty, but it also heightens what I know what I've seen back from my party days, which were not much. I'm telling you, they were not very party, but it just heightens whatever emotion you're currently feeling. So if you're drinking when you're happy, you're gonna get like really happy, and that's when you're dancing on the table. If you're drinking when you're sad, that's when you get like crying. If you're angry, that's when you get like beating people up and whatever it is. So I'm sorry, when you're drinking when you're horny, you're gonna get lewd.
Yeah. If you're going to drink, have a sober person next to you.
Okay, so that was, we actually just covered these suspicious and unusual behavior that the Crown was using in their case against him. There were inconsistencies in the timeline between what Watson had said where he was at what time during the night. And there are people who say, okay, well, I saw him here. He says he went back at this time, but he was there. He responded here to different times. And that was something else. But I apologize for the burping tonight. I don't know what my is.
Don't apologize for natural body functions.
There you go. It's very unprofessional, but I think it's the most professional podcast out there.
I can't sit still tonight, so.
No, I overdid it. Other factors in Watson's alleged lies regarding his whereabouts aspects of his statements the Crown suggested were attempts to deflect attention away from himself. They backed this up by highlighting inconsistencies in his statements by playing tape recordings from Operation Helps. Operation Helps? It could be Operation Helps, but I'm going to call it Operation Help. Operation Help was where the police had obtained warrants to tap the lines of Watson and his associate from February of 98 to until his arrest on June 15. They recorded 70 plus hours of Watson's phone conversations, and during that time they worked with a former girlfriend of Watson, regularly questions to ask him And what was played at this trial was 40 minutes of edited conversations. Which honestly, if you take 7 hours of recordings and editing it to 40 minutes of guided question stuff, I haven't heard the tapes. I don't know if there's a place where I can. There probably is. But I don't trust it. I don't like it.
No, I mean, they're edited, so anything taken out of context
Mhm.
is unreliable.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly said stuff or and message people stuff in the today of text messages. Instant messenger and what forth that we live in. That taken out of context could be very different. Especially since I talk a lot of your crime, especially since I get advocacy.
Wait,
Especially
you're a murderer. You're a murderer, you know, because you talk about it all the time. You're guilty. You're going to prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have fun.
I had the time that because I'm also I write fiction as well. And I had the time where I was researching for an episode that I was also researching for my book. So my stuff was like about I can't remember what it was all about, but it was looking at into law and murder and like all this other stuff. But I was also looking at the blast radius for different weapons and grenades and looking up like what common household item to blow up a car. So,
Yeah. Just to get a glimpse into just other writers' Google search history would be so amusing.
yeah, it's we all say don't judge by your you know, don't judge us by our search history. Writers, true crime podcasters, historians, don't judge by our
Oh,
search history. Although I did
what the?
I did listen to a breakdown of what they actually put on what actually puts you on a watch list or not. So a joking to put them on a watch list, but really it takes a lot of time. However, like we were saying, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure on my end Kelsey is frozen. Well, it seems. So I'm sorry if I'm talking over her and put them across that way, but I'm just gonna keep talking. But oh, it kicked her out. Oh no. Hopefully it lets her back in a minute. But as we were saying, any of our conversations properly edited make us look guilty. You can do that with anybody. Okay, so back to Wikipedia. What's from Wikipedia? The Crown suggested that Watson's inability to produce the clothes he was wearing on the night was also highly suspicious. I'm not sure what happened with his clothes. I get it. It is suspicious. But also, he was really drunk. Reliable witnesses testified that they sighted Watson's yacht, the Cook Strait. What the heck? He didn't have a yacht. Was he on a yacht that night? I don't understand what I just... Oh no, I think he was though. I think he had been partying on other yachts with his friends that night. Where the Crown would argue he disposed of the evidence, which was inconsistent with Watson's statements of his whereabouts. I'm sorry, that's my bad. I forgot. He had partied on a lot of different... He'd partied on several different yachts and then partied on land and then went and partied back on other yachts. So I think that's Kelsey coming back in here. The defense would argue that the sighting was delayed and straight. Wait, now what the fuck? Oh my god. I just totally, you were on for like 5 seconds and I fucked everything up. Okay, Cook Street is the place where his boat was. I still stand by he was partying on other yachts, and I'm sure then partying on other yachts, because that's true. But it was his boat, the Blade, that was in Cook Strait at 4:30 p.m. It was not possible due to other sightings of the Blade in Erie Bay. The distance traveled impossible due to the speed of the Blade and the direction of the tide. You were consistent.
My cat is snagged on my sweater.
Oh, jeez, cat. They do that. My
Just
cat
take it
was
off.
my clothing. The time of day that Watson arrived in Erie Bay remains a contested issue, with some suggesting statements given by the Erie Bay caretaker or influenced by convenient drug charges. So there was this to do about the mystery catch, which was said about one time. And the prosecution making this whole big deal about if this boat existed, why didn't anyone else see it? Like, this was part of the case. Well, if it was really there, why didn't we see it? Why was it in the photos? Why aren't there reports about it? Except there were a gajillion reports, and they took them all out. And refused to take witness. The whole point they refused to take witness statements about seeing this catch.
Wasn't there like 500 witnesses at his trial?
There were 500 witnesses there.
What were they saying?
It makes one wonder. And the party had anywhere between 50,000 and 2,000, or not 50,000, 1,500 to 2,000 people attending. So it kind of makes
What kind of
sense.
party is that?
It was a huge New Year's Eve party. And it was in, so the Inlet Bay, and I think I posted a map. I may have to look at that. Or the Endeavor, excuse me, is this huge inlet. And you had a lot of yachts and different boats that were moored along the inlet that people were partying on the yachts and the boats. And then you had the party that was happening in the lodge as well. So there's just all of this space and all of these people.
So all 500 people at the trial was keeping their eye on this one person, and they knew everything that he was doing. Just this one person out of 1,500 people.
Yeah, and you had some, obviously some for the prosecution, some for the defense. There were people that were saying that were there to testify that Watson had been early that night. There were people saying, no, we didn't see him. Or we saw this other guy. There were people saying the catch existed, the catch didn't exist. They had Hayden Morski, who was the other guy that was in the taxi with Guy Wallace and Vince Olivia, and he was after his girlfriend, Sarah Dyer, I think. He testified that he didn't remember there being a second mast on the boat, which the prosecution jumped all over because the catch was supposed to be 2 masts and Watson's boat was a single mast. But he also said that the Blade was too small and like the boat that Ben Smart and Olivia Hope had walked off at. The town continued to insist that the catch didn't exist, and it was Scott Watson's boat. It didn't happen. While Wallace testified that the only similarity between Watson's Blade and his memory of the catch was that they both float. So
I did wonder if Watson might have been a part of it.
Yeah, there's
especially with the spot of hot trouble he caught himself in right before he died.
Oh, Wallace or
Guy Wallace.
Guy Wallace. Yeah. There's so much speculation about that. And I don't he ended up getting himself into trouble with that and breaking protection order and so forth. It's hard to say. His life was really ruined by this thing. So whether or not he was a part of anything nefarious that happened, his life was certainly changed from it. There was.
Yeah, that was not fair. Them interrogating him for 3.5 hours. That was.
Yeah. And they were, and he didn't just have it. It was the police. It was the media. It was the people who lived there. There's an account where it talks about he was walking down the street, just walking to work, and the entire street went silent. Absolutely everybody went dead silent, just scared.
Yeah, people love drama. So,
Yeah.
and they don't care what's happening to the other person. All they care about is their own entertainment, and that's just, it's no way to live.
And that was something he talked about, once going back to, he spent the rest of his life trying to undo the testimony he gave that put Watson behind bars.
Yeah.
It was just that constant pressure.
And there was two other people. There was 2 other people on that boat. And they said the same thing. It wasn't him.
Yeah.
But Guy's life is the one that got ruined.
Yeah. Well, and it was like, and I'm not saying that it was Hayden and Sarah's job by any means to be watching everybody and paying attention to all of this stuff. Guy Wallace was the taxi driver, he'd been the bartender. He was in that position where he was paying attention and watching and felt the responsibilities for his clients, that he felt the responsibility for that. He flat out said it haunted him for the rest of his life, and he kept asking what had happened because he had a room at the lodge for the night, and he kept wondering what would happen if he had just let them take his room, if they'd still be alive. It haunted him for the rest of his life.
Yeah. No, you need to go. You need to go. Go on. He's a stage 5 clinger. Anyway.
Totally awesome. Oh, okay. So now there's the defense or the crown, brought in this case of there being a cleanup. They said Watson painted parts of the outside of his yacht from red, brown to blue immediately after he received and removed a distinctive wingspan, suggesting an attempt to alter his yacht appearance and possibly conceal forensic evidence. My question, I think about this up last time, is why, if you're trying to conceal that your boat was involved in this crime, why would you paint it the same color as the boat that they released for?
Yeah, and even some of his friends had come out and said, yeah, he's taught to us about painting his boat over the holiday.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if there's a long holiday weekend, I'm going to be getting stuff done.
Yep. Okay. So they highlighted that Watson told his ex-girlfriend he had been given the paint a year beforehand, which was inconsistent with a statement from the Erie Bay caretaker who said he gave the paint to Watson on January 2nd, 1998, after the duo went. That is kind of weird. It's inconsistent. I don't know. I don't have answers. I'm just saying, if he did get the what this goes back to just the color. One of the podcasts, and I don't remember which one, but I do have all the sources in the notes, was saying it's like if you know they're looking for a blue camaro, so you take your yellow camaro and paint it the next day. Why would you do that? If he did get paint on the second and not paint that he had for a year, why would he grab blue paint? It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know, sometimes criminals are just stupid like that. I don't know, but it doesn't make sense. Your Crown questioned the absence of material covering and foam from two sections of the blade swab. Watson told his girlfriend they were caused by a hotspot, then changed the explanation to a cigarette flash paint at a later date. Evidence of cleaning and wiping of the interior of the yacht, including wiping the inside of the cassette cases and selective cleaning of the hull of the blade, all of which suggested Watson was trying to cover up evidence. Defense would point out Crown's fingerprints expert testified that only 30 to 50% of the hard surfaces on the blade were wiped down, and the amount of fingerprints was no more or less than expected. Watson had taken his sister sailing soon after New Year's Day. Watson's defense, and he took his nieces with her as well. I think it was her kids, one way or another, but it was her kids who had been on there. Watson's defense also argued that Watson had leaked the blade due to sea spray from a rough trip from one island shortly before New Year's Eve. And this trip was corroborated. So, there's proof he did this trip.
Didn't he build the boat himself?
He did.
So, plausible reason there is he used recycled wood that was damaged, causing the scratches and the burns.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's easy. There are a million reasons why. And like I'm thinking, if you're taking the boat and you're taking the time to paint it over the long weekend, you're probably taking the time to do the repairs and clean it at the same time. That's my 2 cents on it. It for me, it makes perfect sense that he was cleaning it. It makes me like, okay, this material is damaged. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out and replace it. And the devil's advocate for him here. I don't remember how long stuff in the house gets damaged. I don't remember how I get damaged.
right, you look down and there's a brand new bruise. Like, when did that happen? If I'm ever accused of a crime and I have to explain my injuries, I'm screwed.
Oh, I hear you. Like, there's most likely a right. People go, like, that's the classic signs of abuse and whatever. People are like, where'd that bruise come from? I'm like, oh, I got just ran into a door or something. I'm like, no, but seriously, that happened. I've been in doors. Doorways and I have fights. I
have, I'm anemic, so I look at myself wrong and I bruise. So.
Actually, I should get tested. But yeah, I do that all the time. I don't know what that's broken. I don't know. So we talked about this last time, the fingernail scratches that were on the underside of the hat. That the defense made this whole big to do about falling against it and trying to escape. But the fact was that the scratch marks, the way that they extended, showed they were leaving the mattress open. And his sister corroborated his story that these were going and that's where the scratches came from. Okay, so we already talked about that. So we can skip that. We're actually getting kind of close to the end of the term, so let's see.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
Anybody who has kids know that they can cause a massive amount of damage. So Watson's niece is causing damage to the ship. It's plausible.
It makes sense. The jury heard from two prisoners who said that Watson had admitted his guilt while in prison. Defense argued one witness had significant purpose of his own to serve, and the other witness had little opportunity to develop any close relationship with Watson, such that a confession might be made. One witness was later revealed to have been granted use of a car and a cell phone for his testimony, and both were considered to have been given preferential treatment from police. One of the secret witnesses later retracted their testimony to the New Zealand Herald after the trial, but later proved to be generally unreliable regarding the confession. I tried to look up the names of these inmates. They were withheld for their own protection, so they're just referred to as witness A and witness B. The two-trip theory. So my with that. So you don't hear about this a lot. They talk about the two-trip theory and the sources. During trial, a different water taxi driver, Don Anderson, testified that he dropped Watson onto the blade sometime between 2 and 4 a.m.
Gesundheit.
Of the Mina Corlina and the Bianco recalled asking Watson to leave them alone after they boarded their boats, looking to continue the party in the early hours of the morning. Both the Crown and the defense agreed that this trip took place. The Crown submitted evidence that Watson was involved in an altercation with a young man named Ollie Perkins regarding a necklace given to Perkins by his little sister, which was corroborated by the others as taking place between 3 and 3:30 a.m. The Crown argued late in the trial that Watson had returned to the shore after Anderson dropped to the blade, but could not say how. This became known as the two-trip theory, which the defense said came out of the blue. The Crown argued that it did not matter that the prosecution could not prove how Watson got back to shore, just that witnesses were certain he was there while after his trip with Anderson. If the timing is correct, it strongly suggested that Watson was the unknown man on Wallace's captain, as it puts him on the jetty at the same time frame as Olivia, and there was no evidence of another boat taking Watson to the blade. The two-trip theory was raised during appeal, but it was not considered grounds for any trial. So the verdict, of course, we talked about this, was he was found guilty, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum non-parole period of 17 years. As I suspected, we're running low on time, so I'm just going to pop down this thing really quickly of what happened following this, because there was a lot of appeals. Like we said, there's a lot of several books, documentaries, forums following this case, and a lot of people trying to get Watson freed. There's actually a Facebook page that's about that as well. In 2000, the defense appeals Watson's conviction and takes the case to the Court of Appeals in April and May. In April and May 2000. However, the three appellate court judges decided there was no evidence to recommend a second trial. Screw everybody with that, whatever. In November that year, after the Court of Appeals hearing, one of the witnesses who testified at Watson's trial tells the New Zealand Herald his evidence in court was nothing more than an act, and that he was pressured by police to testify. In 2003, Watson's lawyers take the case to the Privy Council in November, but no grounds for further appeal were found. 2009, Watson petitioned the Governor General for a royal pardon. 2013, Justice Minister Judith Collins advises the current Governor General, Sir Jerry, I should look up how to say that. It's Perry? Vita Perry? That Watson's application for a royal pardon should be declined. Watson is denied parole in that June due to 2 failed drug tests and a psychological report that places him at a very high risk of committing violent acts if released from prison. Like we said, he was not much. However, Watson manages to successfully challenge the Department corrections in court after being denied an interview about his case by North and South journalist Mike White. Watson's planned interview with White goes ahead as planned. He tells White he is still angry at the way he said he was treated by police during the murder investigation. He feels he was picked out by the police for all of the people who were at the Fresnel Lodge that night. He feels he was focused on very early, which he was. We talked about that. And police pursued him despite there being no evidence. And made a case against him and convinced many of the witnesses to give evidence against them and perhaps twist up the evidence. Which, I mean, is not wrong. In August 2016, Watson goes before the court for judicial review in hopes that White can report on his first ever meeting with Gerald Hope, the father of Olivia, which we talked about a little bit earlier about their meeting. Corrections opposes White attending the meeting in his capacity as journalist on the grounds it is not necessary. In November, Corrections gives the go-ahead for the between the three. The resulting interview is published in North and South magazine in 2017. Also in 2016, Watson applied for again the not another bids freedom for 4 years. In 2017, a second application for a royal pardon is filed on Watson's behalf by Auckland's man Brian McDonald, also a convicted killer. That's a glowing endorsement there.
Yeah.
The suspicion is centered on the reliability of two blonde hairs linked to the Olivias that were found on a blanket once exposed. In June of 2020, Justice Minister Andrew Little announces Governor General Dame Patsy Reddy has referred Watson's case back to the Court of Appeal. This was the fourth time Watson has challenged his convictions for the murder of Ben and Olivia. His appeal was denied.
Well, I mean, the whole investigation just needs to be redone.
It really does. It does. And that's the thing, is that they keep denying retrials and appeals and so forth, being like, there's no new evidence, except there is. There's like 8 books in a documentary worth of evidence that they don't. They're just not.
It's a cluster mess.
It sure is.
I mean, I'd like to use another word, but small ears. So my daughter's right there. So
All right. Well, I think that is it on our time. Thank you, everybody who joined us. Thank you, Kelsey, so much for coming on and guesting tonight.
and sorry about the difficulties earlier.
No, it's Instagram. I'm telling you, Instagram gives me shit every fucking time.
I'm like, oh, okay, you had to be in the app for this. Got it.
Yeah, it has. It has. It's the only one that won't like let me string with it because it has to go for a secondary feed, and the secondary feed won't log into the right account, and then it's trying to set your password and that. It's like so much.
Yeah, I originally logged in under my son's because apparently all of his information was saved and not mine. I'm like,
Of course.
what's my password again? I really need to write them down somewhere.
All right. So we will see everybody next week, same time, same place. There's a possibility that Monty is doing the accent. I think that's what we're doing. We kept trying to do that one earlier, and she got hurricanes and all this other stuff. So I think that's next week, but don't quote me on it. All right. Thank you for joining, everybody. Stay tuned next week. Love you. Have a good day, and remember to be a bitch. Oh, I screwed that up. No, I didn't. Be a bitch, carry a big stick, and don't get murdered.
All right, I'll see y'all.